Ladies and gentlemen, this is a story that comes out of NPR, January 3rd, 2019. Emergency medical responders confront racial bias. Of course, there's racial bias, and even your EMTs, ladies and gentlemen, and how they treat a white patient and a black patient. And we know just from previous videos I've done, they are more likely to give pain management to a white patient than a black patient. They'll let that black patient be in pain and not give them anything. And, just the overall general biases that they bring to the job is also going to have an impact on how they deal with people. I see the differences. I even see the differences in how they communicate. Just sit back and watch the way these folks communicate when the person looks just like them and how they communicate when the person does not. Is a hell of a difference. It really is. No matter how much they claim it's the same, that ain't so, ladies and gentlemen. That ain't true. So this study comes out of Oregon, that great place where everybody is so nice and friendly. A recent study out of Oregon suggests emergency medical responders, EMTs, and paramedics may be treating minority patients differently from the way they treat white patients. Especially, the scientists found that Black patients in their studies were 40% less likely to get pain medication than their white peers. Exactly. That actually is nothing new. That's been around for a long time, ladies and gentlemen. And it's also a reason why there's far less opioid addiction in the Black community than there are in the white community, because they are more likely to give them opioids for pain and less likely to give it to Black people. Jamie Kennel, head of emergency medical programs at Oregon's Health and Science University and the Oregon Institute of Technology, led the research, which was presented in December at the Institute of Healthcare Improvement Scientific Symposium in Orlando. The researchers received a grant to produce the internal report from the Oregon Emergency Medical Services Department and the Oregon Office of Rural Health. Outright discrimination by paramedics is rare, the researchers say. No, it is not rare. And illegal. In this case of unconscious bias may be at work. A few years ago, Leslie Gregory was one of a very few Black female emergency medical technicians working in Lenawee County, Michigan. She says the study's findings ring true to what she's seen. She remembers one particular call. The patient was down and in pain. As the EMTs arrived at the scene, Gregory could see the patient was Black. And that's when one of her colleagues groaned. Well, that person should have been fired. If you're going to be that way when you see a Black patient, you shouldn't be on the job. I think it was something like, "Oh my God, here we go again," Gregory says. She worried then, as now. Because the patient was Black, the colleague assumed he was acting out the pain. So our pain ain't real. We're acting. But you know what, ladies and gentlemen? I've heard them do that on jobs. If someone Black calls out on the job, they're faking. They're not sick. They're faking. But if somebody white calls out on the job, oh no, they're really sick. Oh, they're really, you see that attitude even on jobs. And I know damn well I'm not the only one who have seen that. Whenever there's something medically wrong with us or we're in pain, we're faking. Now, why the fuck would anybody need to fake pain? That's stupid. That's dumb. But this is how many of these folks walk around in their daily life thinking. And no, when you have those kind of attitudes, don't expect me to respect your pain. That's the way I see it. You don't respect mine, I'm not respecting yours. The hell with that. The hell with your pain. So don't tell me about the next time you're sick and then, and I'm supposed to show sympathy towards that. But this is the overall attitude when you show up for a Black patient. No. Oh, well, going back to the story, but I have seen that same bias before, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen it before. I am absolutely sure this was unconscious, Gregory. No, this ain't unconscious, Gregory. No, 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 no. I disagree. I'm having my breakfast, y'all. I disagree. When somebody makes a statement like that, they know exactly what they're thinking and saying. Okay, so I disagree that it's unconscious. It's very conscious, and that person really, truly did not want to be bothered with a Black patient. Okay, so I disagree with her on that. The study looked at 104,000 medical charts of ambulance patients between 2015 and 2017. It found minority patients were less likely to receive morphine and other pain medication compared to white patients, regardless of socioeconomic factors, such as health insurance status. So what they're saying is it didn't matter if the white patient was rich or poor, had insurance or didn't have insurance. They always made sure, the EMT always made sure they gave them morphine if there was any kind of pain. But if it was a Black patient, they didn't want to give them the morphine. Gregory is now a physician assistant, and one of her current patients, a Black veteran, has cyclic vomiting syndrome. That means he periodically experiences bouts of vomiting. He can't stop without, oh, that's a shame. So he needs some kind of opioid in order to stop this syndrome that he has. Hydromorphone. So he needs a potent opioids. If the man doesn't get the medicine when he needs it, it could rupture his esophagus and die. So he could die from what he has, Gregory says. So he doesn't call the ambulance anymore, I guess because they won't give him nothing. Instead, he goes straight to a hospital emergency room for help. But Gregory says the same thing keeps happening. The health professionals in the ER won't prescribe him the medicine he needs. That. So it goes way beyond the EMT, ladies and gentlemen. I took his entire medical record and faxed it over to the emergency department director of a local hospital system in anticipation of this very problem, Gregory says. And still, when he presented it was the same thing. So no matter where this man goes, he has a lot of luck from the medical staff to give him the medicine that he needs, this Black veteran. Just another sign of America not caring about veterans at all. Here's a veteran that's in need and nobody wants to help him. This woman has to fight to get him help. That's a damn shame. That's a damn shame, ladies and gentlemen, but that's the way it is. During a shift change at American Medical Response Headquarters in Portland, I discussed the problem with EMT and paramedics who are getting their rigs ready for the next shift. Jennifer Sanders, who has been a paramedic for 30 years, tells me she heard about the new study. She's adamant that her work is not affected by race. She's a liar. She's a liar. She's a liar. I've never treated anyone different. You know what? I've heard many people say statements like that. Oh, I treat everybody the same. And those are your biggest races. Those are the biggest races I've ever met in my life are the ones that insist they treat everybody the same. And they don't. They just mouth the right words, but their actions always say something different. Now, tell me if I'm lying. If I'm lying, write it in the comment section. I know what the hell I'm talking about. Okay, and she's just gonna try to talk all that. Most of the people I know don't do that. We don't do that. Okay, so if you're not doing this and everybody you know is not doing this, then why is 40% of the time Black people are not getting any kind of pain medicine, if that's the case? Okay, why is the racial bias in the medical charts if that's not the case? Let me go ahead and play this audio for you.
There's a recent study out of Oregon that shows that race comes into play even when it means administering life-saving care. Specifically, this study shows Black patients are 40% less likely to get pain medication than white people. Christian Fodenfensel of Oregon Public Broadcasting reports.
Differences in how races are treated by doctors and the ER are well documented. Whites tend to get better care and have healthier outcomes. But until this study, it was unclear if the same was happening in an emergency in the back of an ambulance. Leslie Gregory always wondered. Now a physician assistant, Gregory got her start as one of a very few Black female EMTs. She remembers one call. The patient was down and in pain. Driving up, she could see he was Black. Then one of her colleagues groaned.
It was something like, "Oh God, here we go again."
She worried her colleague thought that because he was Black, he was acting out to get pain meds.
At the time, I remember it increased my stress as we rode up on this person because I thought, now am I going to have to fight my colleague for more pain medication should that arise?
A group of researchers at Oregon Health and Science University decided to try to see if there was a difference in the way patients were treated on emergency calls. They looked at 100,000 medical charts of ambulance patients over 3 years. Black patients were less likely to receive pain medications compared to white patients, regardless of socioeconomic factors like health insurance. At the end of a recent shift at American Medical Response in Portland, a row of ambulances files into the garage. Many emergency responders here bristle at the idea race plays a role in care. Jennifer Sanders has been a paramedic for 30 years.
I've never treated anybody different, regardless.
The very idea is distasteful, says paramedic Jason Dahlke.
No one I work with will explicitly and intentionally discriminate against somebody. It's not what we do. It's not the business that we're in.
But Dahlke is willing to entertain the idea unconscious bias is at work in his field.
Historically, it's the way this country has been. In the beginning, we had slavery and then Jim Crow and then redlining and all of this stuff that you can get lost in like a large macro scale. Yeah, it's there.
So this study has given him pause. He mentions an older Black patient he just treated. He was diabetic and complaining of extreme pain. Dahlke gave him glucose for low blood sugar, but no pain meds. He says that's because by the time he'd stabilized his blood sugar, they'd reached the hospital. Would he have done anything differently if the patient had been white?
Consciously, absolutely not. Unconsciously, that's what studies are saying.
Dahlke thinks another issue at play may be that white patients are more comfortable asking for medications than patients of color. Former EMT Leslie Gregory agrees. She says after years of discrimination, many African Americans have their own biases about the medical system. They just don't trust it.
How can a person of color not disrespect a system that is constantly studying and talking about these disparities, but does nothing to fix it?
The author of this new ambulance study, Jamie Kennell, says another reason disparities loom so large may be that EMTs work in a stressful and time-pressured environment.
In these situations, providers are much more likely to default to making decisions based on stereotypes.
So, now ambulance agencies know unconscious bias may be at work. What are they doing about it? Robert McDonald with American Medical Response says he's looking at new training and a change in hiring practices.
We want to see more ethnicities represented in EMS that has historically been a white, male-dominated workforce.
The first step, though, is for emergency workers to just be aware of the role bias may play in care. For NPR News, I'm Christian Fodenfensel in Portland.
This story is part of a partnership with NPR, Oregon Public Broadcasting, and Kaiser Health News.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, these people were full of shit. Of course, you're going to bring your biases to work. People do it all the time. This is why discrimination is still happening on jobs every single day. So, yes, it's going to be in the medical professional too. Let's not act like you're shocked over this study. You shouldn't be shocked over no racism study. The outcome comes out the same exact way each and every time. Okay, the black person is not getting what they should be getting, and the white person is being accommodated. This is the way it is across the board in all industries in America. So when these people say, I'm not like that, and nobody I know is like that, you're a liar. Because when they open up those medical records and they saw the disparity, don't say no one is like that. Okay, so if Casper the Friendly Ghost didn't write out the records, then somebody racist did. But please tell me what you think, ladies and gentlemen. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.